What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So big piece of fight news, fight announcement news just came out. Two of my favorite heavyweights competing right now, Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa versus Ciryl Gane. And this is going to be a historic event as well because it's going to happen in Paris, France. This will be the UFC's first trip to France. Obviously, they were a little bit behind the times with regards to sanctioning and allowing MMA to be competed in their country. So what better duo at heavyweight could you possibly put as the main event? These guys are going to come to fight. I love this fight stylistically, and quite frankly, I have no idea who's going to win.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that the first fight card in France's history is not going to have Ngannou on it, but the only other person that I could see headlining that would be Ciryl Gane.
Yeah.
And there's no better person to throw onto a card that you want to make a statement with than Tai Tuivasa. I mean, if Paris, France isn't ready for what he brings to the octagon, not only inside but also outside as far as the shoey goes and the rowdiness and how even the Nelk boys show up with him, they're going to be in for a real treat, a special night of fights. And I think that it could really turn France into one of those places that the UFC goes to annually. They love it. Maybe the people have just been like dying for it for years and years and years, and now it's finally legal. So they're going to come out and be very supportive, and they're really going to get behind these fighters and love the performances that the fighters put on.
Yeah, I mean, Paris is one of those international cities that really matter, right? You know, when you think of like what are the cities that really move trends, and they're the financial hubs, you know, your London's, your New York City, your LA, your Hong Kong, and Paris is on that list. So the fact that there's never been a UFC fight in Paris is actually kind of insane. But, you know, there's regulations, and we didn't see anything happen in Madison Square Garden and, you know, in New York with MMA until Conor McGregor and Eddie Alvarez put on a show for the ages. And so there's a few jurisdictions that are still a little bit behind the times with regards to sanctioning everything, but I'm glad that this is going to happen in France. And I think Ciryl Gane is going to show just how big of a star he is in Europe and in France especially. I mean, yes, Francis Ngannou did represent that gym for quite some time, but he's not from France, and he did leave his coach in France, and he now lives here and calls America home. Ciryl Gane is French through and through, and Tai Tuivasa is an absolute fan favorite. Now, here's the deal. I know us here in America, we're a little rowdy. I know the Brits in the UK, they like their pints of beer. The French are a little bit more buttoned up and a little bit more proper than we are. I will be eager to see if Tai Tuivasa wins this fight, if anybody in the crowd is willing to pop their shoes off and let him drink a beer out of their boot.
Yeah, maybe they're Louis Vuitton loafers or something like that they picked up from the designer store down the way.
We're going to get grilled by the French people in the comments now.
We welcome it all. But Tai Tuivasa, you know, he does his thing, and the people love him for it. So I think that when a circus comes to your town, you got to go enjoy the circus for what it is.
Oh, yeah.
And the UFC is very much that. It's a wild thing, but people seem to love it. It's in our DNA. You know, everybody always goes back to fighting's in our DNA. One of the first sports was either wrestling, fighting, or striking of some sort, because people weren't sophisticated enough to get a ball and make a sport out of it, you know. But it's in our DNA. We love it, and we understand it, right? It's so easy. Conflict resolution. We get to see these two people. Even if they have to forge a beef, they forge that beef. They get us excited with the promotional aspect, which the UFC is better than anybody on the planet with making stories, creating storylines, and selling it to us basically as a movie that happens in real time with not actors but real life fighters. There's nothing better for it. I mean, it's a recipe for perfect shows every single weekend, and it's kind of amazing that they do it so consistently weekend after weekend after weekend. They're able to, you know, feed us these stories. It's two fighters. One guy doesn't like this guy. Maybe they do like each other. There's mutual respect, but they're going to go settle their differences. And 9 times out of 10, shake hands after, and we're going to have a happy ending, just like a good movie that everybody loves to watch. So I can't wait to see it. I think that France is going to be blown away at just how crazy the UFC gets people going when they actually get into an arena, and it's not a soccer game. It's not cricket. It's not any of that sort of stuff. This is a fight. This is real, and people really do. They don't expect it, but they get blown away with how exciting it is.
That's for sure. And you said 9 times out of 10 because on that 10th time that fight continues at Poppy Steakhouse in Miami and somebody ends up getting arrested. But 90% of the time it does end with a handshake and a hug, and, you know, people move on. And it's so funny because I have a lot of respect for what Vince McMahon did as a businessman. He's a genius. And he actually passed on buying the UFC. And he said the reason that he passed on it was because in order to build stars, you have to be able to control the outcome. And that is where I fundamentally disagree with Mr. McMahon. If there was no Ben Askren experiment in the UFC, there never would have been a Jorge Masvidal. I think that in a lot of cases, especially in combat, the truth is far better than fiction. The truth scripts itself out better than fiction ever could. And I think this is going to be exactly that. Either Tai Tuivasa is going to go into Paris and knock out Ciryl Gane and launch himself into superstardom, or Ciryl Gane is going to piece apart Tai Tuivasa, one of the most exciting fighters in the sport, in his hometown, and just rally France up to become the next MMA hotspot. So either way you slice it, this is going to be exciting. I cannot wait for this fight. Obviously, we'll do a prediction as it gets closer, but right now I have no idea who's going to win this fight.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to that. And then the only point I want to make and add on to yours about the WWE, it's so true. They get to control the outcome. They know who's going to win. Both guys understand that, yeah, it might not be your night tonight, but then later a year down the road, it'll be my night. You have to give the belt back over. All that stuff is all fine and good, and it works as a show, as theater. But fighting is not like that, and there are always variables. Boxing has always tried to create one star at a time and shoot one star into the stratosphere. And then the reason that guy gets left up alone is because nobody else is there, so nobody cares about his fights or her fights. And the UFC and Dana White and all these people, these promoters are starting to realize is it takes two to tango. And the more stars that you can blast up in the air, even if maybe they aren't reaching as high as a Canelo or a Tyson Fury is, you get these guys up as high up as you can get them, and you get them matched up with other people. You start telling their story. People are going to get invested in it. And then you've got stars just coming every weekend. You've got a different star coming out of the woodwork. And that's what really moves a business. It's not one person carrying all the weight for the entire industry until their job is done or until they lose, and then they just go put all the weight on the next person's shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, look, this weekend's a perfect example. We've got Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chandler. Both of them have losing records in the last couple of years. Nobody gives a damn. Everybody is dying to see that fight, you and I included. I can't wait to do midweek video breakdowns on who I think is going to win that fight, and that's not the same in boxing. It's just not the way it goes. And I think that allowing the best to fight the best, regardless of the outcome, is always the best option. And I think the UFC's got that right, and they certainly have it right with Bon Gamin versus Bam Bam.
Yeah, absolutely. Parrish, you got a good one on your hands. I can't wait to see it.
Me either. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Let us know, are you excited about the first UFC event in Paris? We certainly are. And listen, we talk about all things combat sports on this channel, so if that's your bag, we appreciate a subscribe and a like on this video. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.
Peace.